What do you actually do? Are you a private investigator? Are you a bodyguard?
You could call me like a jack of all trades.
Greg Barrett hired me to find you.
Actually, I found you.
She had this flash drive, had an algorithm on it. She could read emails, text messages, phone calls, anything.
That flash drive is worthless without me.
I know what everyone does and says, and that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
What do you actually know about her?
I need your help.
A magic flash drive to get inside the NSA database. You stick with this girl, and you're gonna wind up dead.
Who's coming after you?
I don't know.
I know this isn't just about insider trading. What did you do?
You are going to help me nail Stein to the wall.
Bring it on! Bring it on!
I know it was you, Martin, who killed my sister.
You can't beat these people.
I'm going to win this fight, like it or not.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Well, we had no choice.
That is true. Your job's depended on it.
Exactly right. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. So we're going into the...
One question before I start. Which one's the ginger beer and which... This is coffee. No, wait, though.
This is wait.
They're both cold. All right, never mind. Oh, here I am.
There you go.
I got you. Okay, I'm good.
Looks like you got two going on there. You got ginger beer and water.
I'm happy now.
There it is. Interesting story about that ginger beer. It's only there because Anthony Mackie made us get it for him.
Wow. Okay.
Calling you out, Mackie. So guys, you're in the back half of the third season of Rogue, right? Things are kind of going a little downhill for your relationship, right?
Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
I don't know if it was ever good.
No.
Well, we had potential there for a while.
Yeah, but it was a little on edge. It wasn't built on solid rock, you know?
I thought you were going to work it out.
You thought so?
Well, we had no therapist. Yeah, no, things go south pretty quick, and things happen with his sister in the story, and that doesn't end well. One of us ends up in jail. Won't tell you who. You have to watch. Everybody's texting.
No, they're
What are you guys doing?
They're taking pictures of you.
Is this the millennial thing where everyone sits there like this? I'm over here. You can look at me here. It's okay.
Talk to me about shooting this show. You're in your third season. Did you expect that you would have 3 seasons? It's a new network. It's a new show. What did you think first going into it?
Well, we just did the 4th season, right? Yeah. Yeah, the 4th season is what premieres tonight.
Oh, I thought it was the back half of the 3rd season that premieres tonight.
No.
3B, yeah.
Oh, is that what happens? Yeah. They don't call it the 4th season. So sorry, I don't.
Boom.
I'm caught up. Got you. You're right, as usual.
My stage. No, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's your home. It's your building. There's so many new venues and there's so many new ways to distribute content, and a lot of people. I was on a show with WGN, and no one knew where to find WGN. A lot of people have trouble finding direct TV shows. Yeah. Not so much now because AT&T bought DirecTV, and now you can get the content on Uverse. You can get it on your phone. You can get it wherever AT&T is. So
it's not a channel that you have to find. You can just go to a link, or you can go to
I think so.
Yeah. I think so too. I just said that.
I was trying to figure it out myself.
Someone from the audience network shout from back there if what we said is right.
Yeah, because they know, because they're of the generation that would know these things. But but everyone is making an effort to do good television. It's golden age of television, according to some people. Yeah. And they're giving it their best shot, and I think they're doing a good job of it.
You've been at this for a while. You've been doing television shows for a while as well as movies. Does it feel different doing television these days?
Yes.
In what regards? How does it feel different?
I was on a show called The West Wing just a while ago, and
Look it up, guys. The West Wing. Come on.
You don't have to pretend, for my sake, that anyone has. You're way too young. No, the new generations are actually catching up to the show, which is kind of phenomenal. But we used to do 22 shows a year, and it was 10 and a half months of 80-hour weeks. And now no one that I know of, unless it's a sitcom, does more than 10. So I end up doing bits on 4 different shows at the same time, which I did last year. So, you know, The Affair and House of Lies this year and Ballers. And in those days, you didn't have the time to do it, nor would they let you do it.
Right. You were just essentially a prisoner, a paid prisoner for one show. Because
Warner Brothers Prison in Burbank, yeah, cell number 25, stage number 25, yeah.
Luxurious prisoner.
Well, okay.
What was it like? I mean, would you consider The West Wing the golden age of television? It obviously is an amazing show, but it's kind of predates what people started calling the golden age.
Well, I think it was the beginning of it when you had Sopranos and you know, Breaking Bad started not too long after that, and I think it was the beginning of the era where film people would come to television because I think they found they had a better opportunity to do what they wanted to do without the pressure of being a big blockbuster hit, right? So, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
And I think it's evolved now. The content has gone, you know, into the new media, so to speak, and you have all of these different venues, and now more and more, you know, you have Scorsese doing vinyl, and he did Boardwalk Empire before that, and Vince Gilligan's keep doing great stuff, and I think this is the place storytellers want to go to tell continuing stories. They don't have to give it one shot and be done.
Derek, I'm curious, what brought you to Rogue in the beginning? I mean, as you said, you can do different parts on shows. You know, you've been on Empire, which is sort of the biggest hit show almost ever right now at this point. I got like one clap for Empire over there. That's shocking. A
clap and a smile.
Yeah. Talk to me about how you got involved with Rogue.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually was looking to do a film, and but the narrative is like, the narrative is a common conversation now. Like, you hear more people, you hear either like, I like your work, or, man, I love the writing on that show. Like, that has become like a public statement. And so that's what drew me to, you know, the show. I was curious, the character was curious. I never wanted to touch a character like this because it was, for me, it was just very assuming to approach it. And what do
you mean a character like this? What about that?
Well, the writer, Matthew Parkhill, I call him my addiction. I mean, he writes addictive writing. He said that Marlon was inspired by characters from The Wire. Now, I had never watched The Wire because I grew up in the Wire environment. You know, so that's...
Marlowe was a drug dealer on The Wire.
Really?
Yeah, there's a character named Marlowe.
Oh, Matthew, come on, man.
I can't remember his last name, but he's like in the 4th and 5th season and some of the 3rd.
Really?
He's he replaces Avon Barksdale as the big drug dealer.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in the Baywatch environment, so I could never watch.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. But
kidding.
No, but I grew up in that environment, so I never wanted to portray it, you know. But having, you know, the conversation and the landscape of other narratives, that opportunity, I really thought this was something, you know, to jump into, something fun, and to, you know, work in Canada. Thought it would be interesting.
You guys do shoot in Canada, I thought, right? Where?
Yeah, we shot in Toronto this past B season, and then we shooting in. I think they are shooting in Vancouver. I don't know if we're coming back yet or not.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. But they're shooting in Vancouver for the next.
Now, when you're shooting a show like this, as you said, you're doing 10 episodes a season rather than 22. Are you still moving as fast as you moved when you did 22, or are you moving even faster these days in terms of shooting the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, The West Wing was very unique in that a lot of theater actors. I was very insistent, and other actors were, that we have rehearsal, that we figure stuff out.
Well, because you have that dialogue.
Material was very complex. The issues were complex. We'd have consultants come down to explain us how I'm going to solve Social Security, because I don't get it, still don't get it. But and since it's not that we didn't work fast, but we made sure that we did everything we could to make it as great as we could, and that is missing a little bit these days.
I agree.
I have to say, and there is a factory element that we had on The West Wing, but exists in an even more pressurized cabin atmosphere now, and It's not that, but I worked on a Spielberg movie, and we did 33 setups a day. So he works really fast as well. It's not that working fast is bad.
Are there rehearsals on the Spielberg movie, or is it the same thing where it's kind of like the gates open, get going?
Yeah, I mean, how do you rehearse a dinosaur? It's just, you react, you look at the green screen, and you don't really, you rehearse the cameras, you rehearse all that, but the actors, I don't know if we rehearsed that much. No, we just did it and popped it. But this material is complex, and it's intelligent, and it needed discussion, and it needed clarification, and it needed improvement sometimes. So we would have to do it, at night after we shot, and we figured out a way to do it, but it wasn't on the day because there wasn't enough time. 11, 12 pages a day.
I'm glad you said that because you were asking about his experience. Like, I was apprehensive to come into TV because one horror I heard that it shoots so fast.
One horror.
Yeah, like one
of the many horrors.
One of the horrors was that it shoots fast, and then the other was it's like who you answer to versus one director in film, at least for me. And a lot
TV,
of
you have the director, you have a couple writers, you have the showrunner. There's a lot of people sort of powwowing behind the camera before they even come to you with a no.
Yeah, but Richard just said something important because it was like being in math class. It was like the teacher said it once, and you just had to figure out the problem on your own. And so I had a lot of problems, but I had to try to work it out by myself. But hearing, Richard talk about it, I'm like, okay, next time I have a way about going, through things, because it was, many times, many scenes, the pages, getting understanding on what I'm talking about. It wasn't just, because it's my neighbor. It was a lot of stuff he was talking about that just didn't gel sometimes with me. So
you need to be able to have a few moments to sort of figure that out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to do like a flat read because you're just like, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, it's a learning process how to get what you want or what you need as an actor. Be arrogant about your work. Don't be arrogant, but be insistent on what you need to do the job that you have to do on set. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. And usually if they're really upset with you, it's because they're hacks. And if they're really interested in finding the best possible result, then they're so grateful. Aaron Sorkin was so grateful to be challenged. Matthew was too, and Matthew Parkhill on Rogue. And most writers are desperate for clarification because they write so fast. Right. And it's like, oh, right, that didn't, you're right, that doesn't make sense. And I think it's up to us to challenge something when it's not accurate. But the TV hierarchy in other instances, I do sitcoms every now and then, and it's very strict. And you'll say stuff like, no, the comes after the word boat. And I'm sorry, what? No, the comes there. And no, the is something that I did yesterday that you wrote into the script today. So, you know what I mean? And so everything is so strict in some environments, and it's inhibiting. I think it's debilitating sometimes.
Rogue is filled with anti-heroes. It's mainly, I would say, an anti-hero.
What do you mean by that?
Show. Scumbag villains.
Scumbag, I understand. Anti-hero.
I'm wondering who you guys think the sort of biggest villain on the show is, because it's filled with many. But I feel like you're kind of, in many ways, trying to be the puppet master of all of these villains. For all of these.
I think Marty Stein, the character I play, is very much the megalomaniac who kind of drives a few different storylines in the story. Yeah, he's to be blunt, very Trump-like. He's a megalomaniac who will do whatever it takes to win, and has very little empathy for the consequences that might.
Have you started channeling Trump for some of your scenes?
No, I don't have his hairdo. No, he's a very different version of it, but I've always been fascinated because I've run across them in business, I've run across them in life, where you come across these people that literally do not care what happens to the people that are affected by what they do. There was a study done psychologically where the amygdala of a serial killer is sometimes very similar to the amygdala, which is part of the brain that controls empathy of a mogul. And it makes sense because they can't really care that much about what happens to real people if they're going to grab that much of a larger piece of the pie, right?
You have to be the type of person who's okay with sort of laying off or letting go of 40, 60 to 100 people to make sure that the bottom line works out for the shareholder meeting or something.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, and outsourcing jobs, for instance, because the profit margin is this much bigger, the shareholders are a little happier, the price of the stock goes up, and yet you're affecting the community that built your product, that buys your product, right? Even Henry Ford, the notorious anti-union guy, understood that if you pay your workers enough, he doubled the daily wage of his workers from $5 to $10 a day in 1910. Wall Street panicked because they thought it was the end of capitalism. Well, what he wanted to do was give his workers the opportunity to buy the Model T Ford. It's very simple.
Buy their own product.
He wanted to create a marketplace.
Right.
And how do you do that? So we've gotten away from that in this country, and a lot of that, I think, is because these types of people who don't really consider the ramifications of what they do to the community. They're only interested in a very small, themselves, their families first, and the rest can figure it out.
That's a great story to tell.
The Henry Ford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, hey.
You know who Henry Ford was? Mm-hmm. Yay.
Ford, guys? I would double down on that, just to follow up. I would double down on that and say it's not just the people at the top with the small amygdala who are making those decisions, but that culture and that lack of empathy is the only thing that has trickled down since the Reagan era.
Reaganomics. Yeah.
Right, Reaganomics hasn't actually trickled down any wealth for anybody. It's just sort of trickled down a me-only perspective.
I'll tell you exactly right. And I'll tell you what, first of all, Rubio, when he was talking about the size of Trump's hands, was really talking about the size of his amygdala. The only thing that trickled down in the Reagan era was I was proofreading to stop driving a cab in New York for my survival job. I started proofreading in law firms. And all of a sudden, there was a 24/7 demand for proofreaders because there were so many mergers, because deregulation.
Right.
And so all of the big companies were buying hostile takeovers and so on. So proofreaders and word processors were the only people to benefit from the Reagan economic, other than the big boys.
I think we have some time for audience questions. Probably anybody have any questions about Rogue, or we can keep talking about Reaganomics and Trump if you want us to.
No, this is a great conversation. Thank you both for coming. I think that's very interesting. I think, didn't Dodge sue Ford for doing that?
For doing way back then?
Yeah.
The Dodge brothers from the commercial?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they did because
I love that you asked that. I don't know. I'm going to look that up.
Because
To stop them from paying.
Shareholders, because it wasn't what's best for the shareholders, maybe what's best for the employees, and the shareholders want the money. I think is what happened. But do you guys have any plans to do theater?
I love that you went from having an anecdotal opinion to her wanting you know all about this, right? You're an expert on this.
No, I just used that story. I know nothing about the history of this country. Sorry, what were you going to ask?
That was really impressive, by the way.
Yeah, it was a great question.
We're intelligent here at AOL Build.
I can see that.
Do either of you have plans to do theater?
Oh. You want to go?
Yeah, it looks like you're ready.
Yeah. Yes, I've sort of been shopping for some material. I'm kind of drawn to some more current material. I wanted to do some in London, just sort of away from, the States, and then build and come this way. But yes, I'm very, very interested in doing some theater.
I do a lot of theater. So I was just on Broadway recently, and I was just on the West End last year. I'm contemplating doing a play in D.C. this spring. It just depends on scheduling, by an adaptation of a play I won't mention in case somebody else does it. I don't want them to know that I had the first chance at it, you know what I mean? And another play by the same writer in Chicago in the fall. I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to. Theater's tough because You know, if you're a big star, you can go, okay, that movie that's next is going to hold for 4 months while I do this thing on Broadway. I don't have that luxury, so these opportunities come to do theater. A couple came last year that I couldn't do, which broke my heart. One in London and one here on Broadway. It's my first love, and when you do a great, when there's great work on stage, and the audience is participating in that, and you're free falling on stage, there's nothing better in the world as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing that makes me feel more alive and appreciate the interaction between, material, performance, and audience.
Do you find that more than any other medium, theater keeps your tools sharpened as an actor?
Yes.
Why is that? Like what are the muscles that sort of keep everything working for any other medium when you leave theater?
Well, because you have to repeat it every night. It has to be as if you've never done it before every night. And it's not just being inspired, but it's technique that allows you to make it as if it's never happened before.
Wow.
And the more you work, the more alive you are. You know, Don Mattingly, the baseball player, used to take 250 swings every day just to get his timing down, The more you work, the more alive your instrument is. And in theater, I have to do a ton of physical work, vocal work, yoga. I have to work out. I'm never in better shape, and then my whole instrument, is just buzzing. It's just ready to go. And usually, what happens?
Cool.
So I came to Rogue right after doing a play in London. And so that influenced that character.
Wow.
What I had done in that play influenced what was available to me and ready to go for Marty Stein. So it affects the work quite a bit, the other work, yeah.
Next question.
Hey guys, thanks
Hi.
for being here.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. So since you've both
What's
done,
new? Sorry, go ahead.
just sitting at an interview. So since you've both been on television a lot and worked on a bunch of different shows, I was wondering what about Rogue has been different for you guys as actors, and if, as a result, it's changed your perception at all.
I mean, what's to me was always new and different is the group of people you're working with. Again, for me, I would get these pages or new pages, and I had to develop way towards the end this not just confidence to constantly be talking to Matthew Parkhill like I thought I was, invading my space. I not invading my space, his space, and I had to get comfortable because I had questions every scene, every line. So Rogue, more than any other show I did, really called for me to engage, and not fortunately, you use that for your next opportunities coming up. I think for the first time, TV wasn't just like a guest stop, alongside the freeway when you go use a bathroom spot. That's the way I was treating, television, not as, let me give it my negative, but I didn't expect to be here long at all, because I have just this endearing care for film, for where I started. But I think that's what stands out of this relationship. And then I just want to say, Richard is here. When we were doing contracts, I remember my manager, she was like, Richard Schiff, you may not know his name, but he's a great actor, right? And so I go online and I look, and, have you ever looked up someone and you may not connected the name and to the face? So I look up and I go, oh, shoot, you know what I'm saying? And I have to say, and I've told him, but this dude is amazing. And just to be, in the scene with him, and being a young actor and developing is the greatest thing you could ever do. So I'm always giving him props, whether he knows it or not. Yeah.
And I agree 100%.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's very sweet of you to say, and thank you. And we really enjoyed working together. We had a good time on set. And I didn't know your work, really. And then just recently, I saw Friday Night Lights.
Oh.
He's phenomenal in that movie. Have you ever seen that movie? He is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, heartbreaking. I mean, he's the guy that gets hurt and can't join the team, and just a devastating storyline, and you executed so beautifully. It's the great thing about doing different work is that you get to, Cole Hauser, who we work with, who's also great, and a maniac and out of his mind in such a great way. So that when he and I work together, we never know what's going to happen in a scene. And I thought he was going to kill me more than once, and I think he might have. And it's the great thing about work is that you get to meet people you otherwise wouldn't meet in life. And when you work together under pressure, with the amount of material that we had and the amount of time that we put in, you get to know people very well, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful to get to know this guy.
I think we have time for one more question from the audience.
Hi. The West Wing has a huge legacy at this point. I was able to catch up on Netflix after it had already aired, and it's a show that's still relevant today and will remain relevant for a really long time. As actors, do both of you or either of you feel like you concern yourself with your work's legacy at all, or does that affect your work at all?
Can you even consider that when you go into a project?
It's the only thing I think about when I take a job. No, it's very tough to think about what your legacy is going to be based on a role that you haven't done yet. And I guarantee you, if you're thinking that, you're probably going to make the wrong decision. Other things have to attract you to the work. Curiosity, what Derek was saying is that I've never played a role that was so close to home before, and that was compelling enough to challenge him on this particular role. That's a great reason to do a role. But it's not a great reason to go, you know what, they're going to remember me when I do this one. Because your ego gets involved, and a different part of your brain gets involved, and it's not going to work out very well.
But did you know a season into The West Wing or 2 seasons in?
I knew from reading the pilot that it was going to have a significant effect. From reading it, I knew that it was going to have a significant effect on society. I didn't know to the degree that it would. I didn't know that
it's going to get picked up after the pilot or how long it's going to run.
I thought it was going to run for 2 terms the minute I read it. I didn't know we were going to start in this middle of the second year of the first term, so it lasted 7 years, but I thought 8 years. There was no doubt in my mind. And I think I'm the only one who actually felt that, but I just had an instinct that, no, this is something very special. And I did not know that, your generation would still be talking about it. I didn't know that people keep coming to it. Half of the tweets that I get are, why did they do that to Toby in season 6, I was like, I don't know, I've talked about this already, you know what I mean? But it's very touching, I think, and Aaron Sorkin should really, take credit for a lot of that, because he tapped into the zeitgeist, and I think he tapped into something that people really wanted to see in this country, which was a government that is thinking the right way and wanting to do the right thing. And I think a lot of them do. They just somehow get pushed off the tracks. So he tapped into something very special, and it was a perfect storm of really wonderful actors who came together. Tommy Schlamme, who ran the show and directed it so beautifully, and all the guest directors, Tom Del Ruth, who lit it, and Aaron, who wrote it. And it's just, that's luck, I forgot the question. I don't know if I answered it.
I think you answered it. Guys, I have to let you go. When does Rogue premiere? When does the season 3B premiere?
Tonight, 9 p.m.
All right.
On Uverse or DirecTV, channel
Network.
7,639.
Yeah, 239 if you're in LA, channel 500. I know because I got DirecTV in LA, so yeah.
Well, guys, congratulations on the show. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.